Hey everybody, welcome back to Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. We've got a bit of a recap here. Well, so much for a fun evening at home. The knights came and crashed our party. They were shouting all about a witch and a witch trial. Talk about coming out of left field. They arrested Espella and dragged her into the courthouse under suspicion of being one of those witches they mentioned. And if she's found guilty, oh, you know, they'll only throw her into a pit of fire. Record scratch. They're joking, right? The Inquisition cannot honor this request for proof. If you are asserting that the accused is not a witch, then the burden of proof lies at the feet of the defender. Come on, this is the prosecutor Inquisition's job to prove that a crime was committed. As I thought, indeed, it would appear the accepted method of thinking in this world differs greatly from our own. We gotta deal with the fairy tale legal system. How regrettable, Sir Apprentice Baker, and you, Sir Dark Hat. Where's the bottom, sir? Should you require it, I stand ready to lend my testimony. Would anyone care to purchase any pre-testimony flowers? I've got a lovely array of bewitching lilies. Snowy and I won't not be dismissed so easily. We came here to expose the identity of this witch. Isn't that right, Precious? A witch's scepter, you say? Yes, I know of such a scepter. Allow me to elucidate the matter. What do you think, Inquisitor Bonham? The witnesses appear to have something to say on the subject. Very well. Most honorable witnesses, I grant your request to testify once more. Tell the court all you know regarding this telemagica. Nope. Well, we somehow managed to keep the trial going. I owe you one, Sir Dark Hat. Please, Mr. Wright. Mr. Layton will suffice for the time being. Yes, I can't read your thoughts. When I saw her, the witch was carrying a large milk bucket with one hand and a lantern in the other. The girl had a lantern hanging from her wrist. Her hand was contorted in a strange way. I got a good look at her hand, and it looked like for certain like she was gripping something. The witch was holding a scepter in her right hand. She did not drop it once before she was apprehended. Seems like we have a little bit of mixed messages in the testimony here. I see. The accused hand was contorted in a strange way. I do believe this is quite an important piece of testimony. I saw it. I most certainly saw it. She was holding an invisible scepter. We saw it too. It was the girl up there, without a doubt. I as well. These old eyes don't see as well as they once did, but I witnessed the hazy, blurry form of the accused quite clearly. Don't tell the court you're blind. I saw it with the edge of my trusty blade. A toy sword. How fascinating. Although I wonder if he understands the implications of that analogy on his vision. Sir Baker, you may proceed with your interrogation. Mr. Layton's given me another chance. I can't let it go to waste.
Hold it!
The large lantern you mentioned is this one, correct? There's no mistaking it. That fiendish form with its case darker than the darkest of nights. That was the lantern. It's just a normal lantern. What is this? It seems the glass is shattered. And there seems to be a sizable amount of mud stuck to it. On closer inspection, it appears the mud is stuck to the broken sections of glass. Most intriguing. So then, when exactly did the lantern get mud all over it? By the way, witness, you also saw a milk bucket, is that right? Indeed, I would bet my sword on it. Yet that milk bucket mysteriously vanished from the scene of the crime. How many times must I say it, Sir Apprentice Baker? The problem is the Black Lantern.
Hold it!
Shut that lamb up. She had the lantern hanging from her wrist. Are you sure? Of course we're sure. If that wasn't it, then how else would the girl manage to hold her invisible scepter? Ma'am, please, just testify about what you actually saw. We just said what we saw. That's that right, Snowy? Indeed, a handle as wide as this could be easily hung from the accused's small wrist. Yes, that's what we're telling you. Isn't that right, Mummy's little snowball? This is no good. They're all bent on assuming Spello was holding that scepter. Seems it may not be best to pursue this particular line of questioning any further. Well, that's just super.
Hold it!
What exactly was the defendant gripping? It was, that's right, something cane-like. What was it called? A witch's scepter? Yes, it was definitely that.
Objection!
Whoa, Miss Kira, you didn't actually see it, did you? Witness, this cane-like object, was it perhaps roughly this size? Oh, why yes, it was exactly that size. It's no good. They're all bent on assuming Spello is holding the scepter. Did not drop it once. But it's broken and covered in mud. Oh, that's the lantern, not the scepter. Nothing that I can see. Doesn't let me click. I don't know.
Objection!
This might be bad. Alright, it's bad.
Objection!
There is a high probability that Miss Cantabella was not holding the scepter. But if, for the sake of argument, she had been holding it, she would have undoubtedly have dropped it at the same time of the incident. What do you mean? What I mean, Inquisitor Barnum, is that this lantern proves the defendant was not holding the scepter.
Objection!
What foolishness are you spouting, Sir Apprentice Baker? The lantern's handle was around the accused's wrist.
Objection!
Meaning, she could have held the scepter? I'm afraid that's not the problem here, Inquisitor Barnum. The problem is with the broken glass and the mud plastered all over it. What? The raid ended just as the murder was taking place. That would make the path fairly muddy, wouldn't you agree? When the thieves grabbed Miss Cantabella by the arm, the lantern must have fallen into the mud. The lantern! Fell into the mud. Why, of course, that makes sense, doesn't it, my little snowy mummy? Well, what do you say, Inquisitor Barnum? If she was holding the scepter at the time, that would mean that when she dropped the lantern, the scepter would have fallen along with it. Ugh. Just what is this?
Hold it!
One moment, please. Everyone, please listen. Didn't we all just stand here and explain to the court what we clearly just saw? It's a lantern, so what? What's so special about it? Explain to me so I can understand. So that you can understand? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious just by looking at it. Mr. Wright. What is it, Mr. Layton? There's something about this witness. Miss Kira, was it? Tell me, Miss Kira. How good is your eyesight, exactly? Huh? As you just heard Mr. Wright explain, the answer to your query is quite obvious at a glance. Tell me, are you able to see the mud present on this lantern? Mud? What mud are you talking about? Your Honor, did you hear that just now? Ah, yes, indeed. Oh, what does that mean exactly? It means that Miss Kira's poor eyesight is the reason she cannot see the mud present on this lantern. In other words, the validity of Miss Kira's testimony is questionable, at best. Order in the court. What is the meaning of this? What say you in your defense, witness? I highly recommend you give us nothing but the truth. I'm sorry, Inquisitor Barnum. It's true, I need to wear glasses all the time, in fact. You need to wear glasses? Aha, now that you mention it, I did notice something odd about you today. Oh, I thought you looked familiar. Gone is the mist that clouded my mind. In its place, clarity. Fair maiden, a pair of spectacles are invaluable as a shield to a knight. Make haste and procure another pair. Now then, Miss Kira, tell me, at the time of the incident, were you wearing your glasses? No, I wasn't wearing them. The truth is, I lost my glasses a couple days ago. You lost them? So, her glasses were missing during the time of the incident. Mr. Wright, might I recommend that you keep note of this fact? It could prove useful later. Got it. Am I to believe there is nothing left to prove on this matter? At the time of the murder, the accused did not have a witch's scepter in her possession.
Hold it!
Wait just a moment. Snowy and I have much more left to say. Well, the lamb clearly did. That's right. My crusty sword of justice shall cut through this witch's treacherous lies. I may have lost my glasses, but I haven't lost my will to testify. She eats the flower. Eureka! I remember now. Old age has a way of sneaking up on me, I'm sure you must understand. Yeah, I understand. I understand you're all completely ridiculous. Harsh burn. It would seem we have not yet arrived at a clear-cut verdict. Witness, you may once again begin to testify to the court. Tell us about the scepter and how it was used in the detestable display of witchcraft that you all witnessed tonight. The girl was not holding the scepter in the same hand as the lantern, which means it must have been in the other hand. The accused was holding a milk bucket in the court illustration, Who's to say she wasn't also holding the scepter in that hand? We literally just went over this. That milk bucket's lighter than it looks. Even Snowy could carry it. And so she could have easily held the scepter as well. I did not see this milk bucket. Everything felt like an illusion. Well, he's clearly out of it. The scepter was in her other hand, you say? Indeed, such a proposal is feasible. Sir Baker. Yes, Your Honor? It is the strangest thing. The longer this trial goes on, the more you begin to resemble a legitimate defender. Huh? Well, no matter. Defender, you may begin your interrogation.
Hold it!
Just 1 second, Miss Mary. Ooh, what is it now? Mary doesn't make a good evidence, or good witness, because she's quite contrary. What is it now? Snowy and I don't have all night, you know. Come on then, out with it. I just have one question regarding your testimony. How exactly did you know that the bucket Miss Cantabella was carrying was light enough for Snowy to carry? Huh? Well... You see, the girl always uses the same bucket whenever she comes to buy milk from us. Naturally, I would have seen that bucket countless times before. You've seen it countless times before. That still doesn't answer my question. You specifically said that the bucket is lighter than it looks. Miss Mary, at some point tonight you must have held that bucket yourself. Now then, please enlighten us to exactly when you got your hands on the bucket. It's true. By that time, Robs and Mugs had already been burnt to ash. And then, I noticed the milk in the bucket the girl had been holding in her hand. The milk? Then, when those two went up in a blaze, Snowy and I made a dash for the bucket. As the girl stood there looking confused, we took the milk from her to make sure it was okay. Huh? Unbelievable. Witness you. Ah! Well, it was just so wasteful. The thought of all that disgusting ash falling into precious milk. I felt I just had to protect the milk, so I took the bucket back to the farm with me. Madame, you mean to tell the court that you took evidence from a crime scene back home with you? That explains why we were unable to locate the milk bucket at the crime scene. Oh my, you're scaring poor Snowy. Here, I brought the bucket with me anyway. See, I didn't even tamper with the milk. I'm sure you didn't. The court shall accept this milk bucket as evidence. Looks like it's one more piece of evidence for us. Now, will the gentleman in the impressive beard proceed with his testimony? So what's the deal with this milk bucket? Well, it couldn't have been because she was holding the bucket of milk.
Objection!
All of your testimonies have come to the same conclusion. The scepter was not in her right hand with the lantern, therefore it must have been in her other hand that was holding the bucket. However, that's not it. Not by a long shot. What do you mean? Contrary to what one of the witnesses stated, the milk bucket was in fact at the crime scene. And you'll also notice something about this bucket. Take another look at the court illustration. Something about the bucket seems a bit odd, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
This illustration is based on eyewitness accounts, so a small discrepancy or two is conceivable.
Objection!
Actually, Inquisitor Barnum, it's highly likely that this illustration is much less accurate than you think. In fact, there's a blatant contradiction present in this illustration. Admittedly, it does not at first look possible that Miss Cantabella was holding the scepter and the bucket at the same time. However, if you look at the real milk bucket, that possibility goes up in smoke. Here, let's have a look at the real deal. Notice the handle. Ugh, that cannot be. Oh, but it is. This particular milk bucket has 2 pieces of wood on either side of the handle. If you were to try and hold both the scepter and this bucket, well, let's just say it would be a challenge, to put it simply. There is no way anyone could hold both the bucket and the scepter at once. That must mean that clearly you have the wrong bucket. We never lie when it comes to milk. That's the very bucket I took. Looks like the witnesses are as surprised about this as Barnum. The defendant couldn't have been able to hold the bucket and the scepter at once. Also, we have already established that she was not holding the scepter in her right hand. Therefore, the defendant, Mrs. Bella Cantabella, was not holding a witch's scepter at any point during this incident. Order, order, I said order. Just what is the meaning of this? In all my days as a judge of this court, I've never heard such an argument. These are but a paltry set of words, and yet they ring with such remarkable strength. Your Honor, what you just heard was logic. Logic, you say? What is it with these two? They just silenced Inquisitor Barnum with mere words. Such foolishness. This must be some kind of witchcraft. Wait, do you think? Could they be witches? It would seem the concept of logic does not exist in this world. Right, let's take this chance to knock their case down a peg or two. I'm worried that if we keep this up, we'll all be joining Espella in a one-way trip to the flames.
Objection!
Most intriguing. A knight allows his sword to speak for him during battle, and you have spoken with a sword of words. So be it. I too shall wield such a blade. What do you mean? Sir Blue Knight, there appears to be a hole in this logic of yours. A hole? According to the earlier testimony, it was believed that the accused had a lantern hanging from her wrist by the handle. However, she supposedly dropped it, hence it being covered in mud. That's right. Well, that may be true. It does not necessarily mean the accused was therefore unable to use magic. It is merely a question of when she dropped the witch's scepter. What do you mean, Inquisitor Barnum? It's very simple, my lord. The accused, while first holding the lantern and the witch's scepter, cast her magic. Then she dropped both the lantern and the scepter. Ah. The witch's scepter was dropped after the spell was cast. Oh, of course, yes, that must be it. What say you, Sir Blue Knight? That is but a taste of the knightly knowledge of this Inquisition. That Inquisitor isn't quite what he first appeared. Yeah, it sure seems that way. Just a moment ago, it seemed like he'd never even heard of the logical debate. Now he's suddenly using it against us. This guy's no joke, that's for sure. Now then, most honorable witnesses, I ask that you lend us your aid once more. I request that you all testify to the court once more. Tell us what occurred first, the dropping of the lantern or the casting of the spell. Witnesses, you may begin your testimonies. Tell this court in your own words about the sequence of events was transpired tonight. Of course, the lantern fell to the ground after the incantation of Ignaze. Sploosh! I'm as sure as Snowy is white. I made certain to keep my eyes peeled on that milk bucket after all. Besides, how can you be sure the lantern just fell just because it has a little mud on it? She's really dumb. She's really stubborn. These eyes do not lie. I saw the lantern on the accused's hand when the incantation was uttered. Figures. The testimonies are all over the place now. These 4 testimonies, they're most interesting. The witnesses all saw the same thing, and yet people's memories are evidently quite fickle. They can never be a truly reliable source. Well then, Professor, with enough poking and prodding, I bet we can really cause their testimonies to crumble. Of course, we need to exploit their fickle memories to turn this thing around. Got this, Nick. We'll press them so hard they won't even remember what they had for breakfast. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. Now, Sir Baker, you may begin your interrogation.
Hold it!
The lantern fell after the incantation. Are you positive about that? I say, I am positively positive that I am positive. I heard her voice, and then, sploosh! That sploosh. Is that the sound of the lantern hitting the ground? Indeed, but of course, do you see? But if you look at the lantern, you'll notice that the glass is shattered. You specifically said you heard a sploosh. Shouldn't you have heard the sound of the glass shattering when it hit the ground? The sound of glass shattering? No, I'm afraid I failed to catch your drift. I was present in an area a bit further away from the crime scene, you see. I have no recollection of hearing such a sound. No recollection. Precisely so. I'll have you know I can easily hear a dog barking across town. Do not underestimate my hearing. I wasn't. Relax, Grandpa. There is nothing of interest in this testimony. Will the witness with the goat please proceed with her testimony? Huh? Oh, right, you mean us? You startled us, didn't you, Snowy? What do you think, Nick? Do you notice anything fishy? Yeah, possibly. I think there may be something I can use. Really? Wow, I didn't hear anything special. There was definitely something out of place with that one witness's testimony. It was something I haven't noticed in any of the other witnesses so far. It appears you may have found something, Mr. Wright. A 4-witness cross-examination is something I've never done before. But then, maybe there's another way I should be tackling this. I believe it is worth trusting that intuition, Mr. Wright. Okay, I got it. Alright, let's try pressing that old man one more time.
Hold it!
The lantern fell after the incantation. Are you positive about that? I say, I'm positively positive that I'm positive. Sploosh the sound of the lantern hitting the ground. Indeed. If the glass is shattered, you would have heard the glass shattering.
Hold it!
There it is, right there. I knew I heard something strange. Huh? But the old graybeard didn't say anything weird. Maya, it's not the old guy that said something weird. It's the person next to him. Next to him? Ah, look there, Professor. The goat lady. It looks like she's really deep in thought. It would seem she has noticed something odd in this elderly gentleman's testimony. Ah, that's right. With these cross-examinations have 4 witnesses. Hey, Nick, looks like we're not the only ones paying attention to these testimonies. You're right, which means if they're all listening to each other's testimonies. Correct, Mr. Wright. Each witness is fully aware of themselves and their own actions and when in the middle of their own testimonies. However, it is while listening to the testimonies of others that the witnesses may sometimes reveal the most valuable information. I see, it's habitual. They can't tell they're doing it, but I can. And I'm going to use it to turn the tide back into our favor. In fact, I do believe I may have spotted our first opening in which to test this new technique. Mr. Wright, could I draw your attention to the touchscreen? How about we try questioning the goat lady about next to old Graybeard? Okay, I'll have to just slide the magnifying glass over to the witness.
Oh?
Hang on!
Excuse me, Miss Mary. Oh, do you mean us? But Snowy and I have nothing else left to say. I knew it. I caught her completely by surprise. Mr. Wordsmith just gave his testimony. He told us all about the sound he heard when the lantern fell to the ground. Mr. Wordsmith didn't seem too sure, but I wonder if you might happen to have something to say about this. Huh? Well, that's... Is that all right, Sir Bonham? May we answer the question? Do what you will, madam. There's no need for formalities. Huh? Well, we'll try and explain, won't we, Snowy? The truth is, we did hear something. That is to say, we heard the sound of the lantern's glass shattering. We're sure of it. It was frighteningly loud. It was quite startled us, didn't it, Snowy dear? I looked in the direction of the sound, but I couldn't see anything, let alone the girl or the 2 thieves. It was a tad dark, after all. When the glass shattered, the flame inside must have gone out, and she could not see them. That seems to be the gist of it. And then, as I peered into the darkness, I heard it. You heard it? What did you hear exactly? You know that? I heard... the incantation for the spell Ignaze. What did you just say? Now, hold it right there, witness. Yes, my lord. The glass shattered when the lantern fell. Then after that, you heard the incantation for the spell Ignaze. Do you swear to the court that this is without a doubt correct? Yes, maybe, I think. How about my testimony? What of my oratorical observation? That blasted spell, Ignaze, occurred first, then the lantern plummeted to the ground. I heard no such thing. There's no sound of shattering glass. Absurd, simply absurd. So the lantern fell and the glass shattered. It does not change the very fact that this girl is a witch.
Objection!
I hate to disappoint you, but that's not quite the case. In fact, this testimony changes things a lot. Wouldn't you agree, Inquisitor Barnum? What is the meaning of this? Let's go over what we know so far. In order for a witch to use any magic, they must be holding a witch's scepter. And yet, none of the 4 witnesses saw the defendant holding a scepter of any kind. That's because the scepter was made to disappear with the spell Demir, correct? At the time of the crime, the 2 victims grabbed Miss Cantabella's arm, causing her to drop the lantern onto the ground. If, at the time, she was in fact holding an invisible scepter, then the scepter must have fallen when she dropped the lantern. Now, let's say hypothetically that Miss Cantabella really is a witch. In order to use any magic, she would have had to recite the spell before dropping the scepter. However, as our witness, Miss Mary, has just stated in her testimony, She heard the incantation for Ignace after hearing the lantern's glass shatter. You do all understand what this means, don't you? It means that Miss Cantabella, the supposed witch you've locked up, could not possibly have cast any magic. Therefore, the defendant, Isabella Cantabella, is clearly in no way, shape, or form a witch. Such frivolity! Do you realize what you're insinuating? You really think she is not a witch? Oh, such nonsense. Did you even listen to my testimony? We did, but you're wrong. There was no glass shattering. Are you calling me a liar, Missy? I couldn't even see the mud on the lantern. You couldn't even see the mud on the lantern. It was plain as day. What ridiculous claims, all of you! Oh, hush. Take your little toy sword and go back to playing pretend, Sir Knight. Witnesses, this is a court of law, not a playground. Must I remind you of the importance of these proceedings? Witches and their magic threaten our fair town of Labyrinthia. Your words here today could decide the fate of every single citizen within our walls. Do you understand? As such, I expect each of you to take your role seriously and testify honestly about what you saw. In all my days as judge of this court, I've never seen such behavior. Behavior that leaves a cloud of doubt over the credibility of each of your testimonies. Indeed, my lord. Quite a miserable set of witnesses, this lot. I see. It would appear this trial has come to a sudden halt. Huh? So that must mean... Quite right. It means you have won this trial, Mr. Wright. We've won. I can hardly believe the situation we found ourselves in. I did not anticipate this trial ending with such a strange turn of events. But due to these witnesses' dubious credibility, I can see no reason to continue. What say you, Inquisitor Monum? As you wish, my lord. What's going on? They're actually going to let this witch run free through the town? Curses, if it wasn't for that witch and her friends.
Hold it! Wait a bloomin' second. This trial ain't even close to being over.
Wait, it's some guy.
Not before I take the stand to testify!
Order! Order! Who is this buffoon?
Behold! Who am I, you ask? Who am I? Why?
For 5 long seconds, you've been asking who I am.
I'm the man that's gonna single-handedly save this trial. I'm the 5th witness!
And I'm drunk as hell!
Say what?
Huh? What?
Even Barnum didn't see this one coming.
Just as I thought. This trial was going down the drain before I got here. Okay, you lot, assemble. We need a strategy meeting, ASAP. I say, who are you? Thank goodness you showed up. We can't give up now, everyone. It's come down to this. To arms, everyone. We shall do battle against that baker and that hat seller. I can't believe this. What the heck's going on? Truly fascinating. Seems a new witness has taken a stand. What's more, he appears to be quite the formidable witness.
We'll make them think twice about that court again.
This me worry about taking those two.
This trial is still far from over. I don't think the witnesses are allowed to conspire like that. But anyway, guess this is fairy tale court, so... Looks like we had it in the bag, but now there's a new witness to contend with. What's his deal? We'll find out next time when we do part 2 of chapter 2. Jesus, game's taking forever. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and we will have more of this on Friday. So hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Also, we have the finale of Broken Sword, The Smoking Mirror tomorrow, so want to check that out. And we'll have a new game on Saturday to replace that one. And the rest of the week's going to be pretty much the same. I might actually mix things up on Wednesday, but we'll see. So thanks for watching.